everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Show's Caregiver Dave celebrity segment. And I'm excited to welcome the program Caregiver Dave. Dave, how are you? And you had a blast in New York City.
Thank you.
You got. I've been watching you on social media. You've been blowing it up in New York, right? Carnegie Hall, everything.
Yeah, I got to share the stage with Martha Stewart, Ice-T, Jerry of Ben & Jerry's, ice cream at an underground bar, and it was an awesome time. And now I'm at the airport, just squeezing you guys in.
All right, so Dave, go ahead and introduce our amazing, legendary guest.
Crystal Gayle, one of the top vocalists and artists of the 70s, 80s. Now she's coming out with, 14 years. And Crystal, welcome to the show. Ever since I knew you were coming on, I've been humming that tune, "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue," and I can't get it out of my head. So I'm just curious, how many times have
I have sung that song many, many times.
many.
And, I never get tired of singing it. It's so well written.
And I never get tired of hearing it.
And Crystal, how many times do you get asked to sing it? That's the other part, impromptu, a part of it.
Well, I would be in very big trouble if I did not sing "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue." You know that. I have sung it so many times, and it's a song that a few little girls will have in the beginning. They come up to me and say, "Donuts make my brown eyes blue." So I thought that was cute.
Now, do you have brown eyes or blue eyes?
Well, I used to have brown, now they're blue.
Oh, God changed them for you. How nice.
Yeah, it changed,
Let's talk about your wonderful career. What would you say is the most amazing accomplishment that you have accomplished in your entire career?
Oh my, I just love music. I grew up singing anything and everything. That when I went into music, it was like in recording. It wasn't like overnight success, even though a lot of people think with "Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue" that was my first single, but it wasn't. I had I built up my songs, and I worked as a single act using the bands and the clubs around, and so it was probably good for me that I didn't have overnight success, because that's really hard. All the things that are thrust at you. They want you to do everything. So I needed that background. But, to me, the Grammy, I think really making all the friends I've made through the years. One of the highlights.
Yeah, those are the things that stay with us. But, Crystal, there really is no overnight success, regardless of what anybody tells you or what you believe. There are 20-year overnight success. There are 10-year overnight success. There are 50-year overnight. They don't see what comes before their overnight success, which is usually a lot of hard work, driving a cab, working at a restaurant, or whatever.
Yes, I mean you'd hop in the car and you'd drive that night to the next performance. It was not easy. Now I don't think acts would do that these days. Go in and drive and work with the bands at those clubs, because I learned to sing songs. I would change the melody to follow what they played, So, I didn't want a train wreck, so I just go with them.
Now,
Sure.
when you talk about the Grammy, Crystal, and, winning that, I think it was important to win that for country music in a lot of ways as well, because you love to have as much publicity for yourself as a country music singer so that people get to know you not just in the country music realm, but all of music, right?
I had so many fan letters, people coming up to me and saying that they had never listened to country music until my song that crossed the boundaries. And I loved it because I loved bringing people into country music. I think people look back, another Kenny Rogers. We were both basically at the same time bringing in more listeners because they would hear our songs, and then they'd listen and say, "Wow, I really like country music."
Yeah. And that's the way to bring it in. And then you were again carrying that baton for lots of famous musicians that transferred over from country music to pop music for sure. And you brought that together for sure, Dave. And Dave, that's the thing that happens is artists like Crystal, again, 50 most beautiful people magazine at one point, I think that was 1983, that these kind of crossovers change music forever, Dave.
Yeah, and you were on everybody's show. I mean, Andy Gibb, he had his own show, right? I remember you singing a duet with him.
Andy Gibb, yes, we were on, I believe, a Solid Gold is what we performed that on. Yes, I was one of the acts that did every TV show that I could do. I mean, I was offered so many television shows, I couldn't do them all. And I wish there had been two of me so I could have. But I mean, it was just incredible time. We had great TV shows at that time.
So I'm sure everyone's asking you this question, so I'm going to ask you. 18 years since your last album. Where were you? What happened? How did you make
I definitely have been in the studio doing a few things here and there and for other people, but it was more like, okay, do I go in there and do this album because radio is not going to be there to play it like it would normally be played if you're a new act going out. And I thought, why? But I was, doing other things. And this particular album was in the studio with my son, Christus. And he actually mixed it, engineered it, and co-produced it. And it was really, I wanted him to see what real country music was all about, what I grew up singing. And all these songs I picked were very special to my heart.
Is it a country album?
It is a classic country album. I mean, it's filled with, I opened for Marty Robbins. The first song I sang on the Grand Ole Opry, Ribbon of Darkness. I opened for Jack Green, Faron Young. I mean, these people were the backbone of
I love
country
Marty
music.
Robbins.
Oh, Marty was incredible. I know, they have I think there's a TV show out about the beginning of country, but, if you look at country music, it really was the hill music. The songs that came over from England and Ireland.
Yes.
It came over, and then people just started singing them on the front porch in the living room. It really, it was so many, and it's great. I love country music.
And that's,
how much time do we have?
No, I'll let you know when the hard stop comes. So basically, Crystal, when we're going and particularly talking about country music and everything, let's talk about your fans for a second. And I know Dave was going to probably ask that question, but I wanted to kind of jump early into this. How does it feel about working with your fans and your fans throughout your life, and how much they were a part of your life in so many ways?
I think one of the main reasons I am still on the road, working the road, doing different concerts, because I have so many friends that I've made all over, and when I go into an area, I know exactly who's going to be there, as well as new people coming. But I've just made good friends, and that really is what was a backbone of country music as well, was the fan base. Now, when I first started out, a big hit in country music sold about 50,000 copies. So it expanded. It just went everywhere. So, it was a family, close-knit, Nashville, Tennessee. It was all the acts and the people that worked it were different. Now it's, it's a huge business.
Well, and it was you, and it was people like the Judds and people who just helped people who would never listen to country music in their life. All of a sudden, they're listening to country music, and they kind of got conned into it, and they like it.
Well, the Urban Cowboy, that was huge. Johnny Lee, Looking for Love. I love that song. I mean, these were really good songs, and Nashville had all of these great songwriters that now I think people tend to write their own things. And I mean, if they were great writers, it would be okay. But, a writer like Don't It Make My Brown Eyes Blue, I mean, they really are incredible writers. And they just need to look for those writers and, put a few of those songs on with their written songs.
Yeah. Do you write? Do you dabble a little?
I have written through the years, but I always found better songs. We always look for the best. Of course, I started out with Alan Reynolds on United Artists Records, and Alan, you might know his producing with Garth Brooks.
Oh wow!
So Alan is a great song person, and he knew songs, and he had his own studio. So I was lucky. I got to go in and sing and re-sing and listen to my voice. And he said, sing a different way so you can see what you like about your voice and what you don't. So it was an incredible experience to work with him.
It's an amazing gift. So either someone is gifted with lyrics or they're gifted with melody. I had no idea that Elton John really wasn't good with lyrics, but he had amazing melodies. He could read a poem and he would just hear it. Amazing.
Oh yeah,
comes from God.
Definitely.
Now, Crystal,
Definitely.
Crystal, when you talk about specifically enough country music, where do you want to see country music in the next 10 to 20 years? Where do you want to see it grow to?
I really don't want them to forget what country music is all about. And, we have in Nashville the Country Music Hall of Fame, and you can go in there, you can study up on all different acts and where it started from as well. So I'm glad we have that there. But the radio, maybe we need two sets of stations, one that plays the more traditional, because there's still a lot of people out there recording the regular country and not the more crossover. Or as I listen, I think it's what pop music was of the 70s. That's what I hear out there, a little bit more, growing up at that time and hearing what was on the radio.
Wow, for sure. Now, Dave, I wanted to kind of go to a question that really was interesting involving, because I do have a little bit more time with Crystal. This is a really interesting one. Let's look at today's artists, especially ones that are in country today versus yesterday. What do you see as the things that you love most about each type of genre of music? The latest hot new country singers versus your time, and looking
there's
at
so many different genres of country now.
Exactly.
Well, when I look at it, some really, really, really good artists out there. And then there's the other artists that are still doing great, but they all sound sort of the same because of the types of songs they're recording. But when you can have a Carrie Underwood who can sing anything, get out there and then show her true love of country music and love of life. I love that about her. She's a great person. And that's what I like about country music in general. We want good people in there. And, there are some really good ones. But, it's totally, as I said, it's totally different than when I started out. But just so long as they don't forget what it was, country music started out as.
I'm assuming you've been on the Grand Ole Opry many, many, many times, right?
I am a Grand Ole Opry member for about 2.5 years now.
Oh.
And yes, it was. I always thought I was, and I had been on that stage and have. I didn't have the memo. No, it's such an honor that they would bestow that to me, and they are a great family to be a part of.
I understand you're going to be performing a lot of different places still in your tour and stuff. What are some upcoming places you're going to be going to?
Oh gosh, now you have to put me on the spot.
Maybe just tell them to go to
Minnesota.
Yeah. Yeah.
We go all over Georgia. We just got back from doing Vegas and South Point. We were in Texas before that, and we just have fun out there, and that's really the most important part. With the world is what's going on nowadays. You need that little escape from everything. So we just, we go out there and sing. We don't try to preach. We're there to just have fun.
Absolutely. So
how much harder is it?
Go, Dave.
Sorry, Neil.
No, go ahead, Dave.
How much harder is it being on the road since we're older? We're not kids anymore.
It's not easy as it used to be. Of course, we used to do those dates where you'd get up at 4 every morning and catch a flight and go to the next day, and then you're performing at night. And now I love busing. I like just getting on the bus and, you can go to sleep. You can, you wake up where your next show is. And it definitely is. You have to, for me, I take it the way I feel like I can handle everything.
at your pace.
Now Dave
Yes,
has
at my
his
age.
now Dave has his final question for you, Crystal. Go ahead and ask the final question he asks for everyone when he does his caregiver Dave celebrity segment. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, that's why we call it that. I'm caregiver Dave. My wife had a headache about 23 years ago, turned into a stroke, lost her speech, became paralyzed on the right side. We grieved for about 2 to 3 years, which was hell. But then we decided to reinvent ourselves, and now we travel the country, and I speak on stages all over the nation on TV and Harvard and Nasdaq. Just got back from Carnegie Hall, and we're just helping caregivers to stay alive because AARP says 30% of them die before their loved ones do. So what's your experience been with caregiving? I mean, are your parents or grandparents at the age now that you kind of worry about them?
Definitely, it's a hard decision in a lot of ways. Of when people don't want to give up their independence,
Yeah.
they want to have someone with them at all times. My mother, she had lung cancer. She was lived with me her last year of her life, and of course she was. We had to have people around the clock with her, and you have to deal with it the way that you in your heart feel like you can, and have the respect and want their input as well.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty cool. I started a website, caregiverdave.com, just to help caregivers survive. It's got videos and sources. I'm writing my fourth book, and anybody who wants to not just survive but to thrive, go to caregiverdave.com and check it out.
Awesome.
Definitely.
And Crystal, best place we can find info on you, purchase your music, learn more about you, best place to go. Where can we go?
Well, you can go to crystalgale.com as well as Amazon, and but going to my website, you can see a lot of things. And of course, we're on Facebook. We get on there and start trouble every now and then, but other than that.
You always got to start trouble, right? In social media, you have to watch yourself.
I mean, it doesn't take much. You put one picture and you're in trouble.
Yeah, exactly. And say, what did you post that or why? And everyone has to. It's amazing how you can really get a good fan observation and know what your fans are thinking from social media. Just do one post and ask a question. It's like, wow, okay. I remember.
Sometimes I want to put things in, and they say, don't. I just, I like to cause problems,
Exactly, Crystal. Now, do you ever, I'm in Pittsburgh, Dave's in LA. Do you ever tour Pittsburgh or near Pittsburgh, your music?
We have. It's been a while. We love Pittsburgh. My song, When I Dream, Sandy Mason was from Pittsburgh. So we've gone in there a few times. Love it.
All right. Well, fantastic. Best of luck, and we'll have to connect if you come to Pittsburgh.
Go, David. You still look great. I don't know how old you are, but you must be in your 20s or 30s. I don't know.
Oh, well, thank you.
Dave is always the gentleman, and I appreciate you coming on, Crystal, and thanks. Best of luck, and thanks for taking the time today.
Well, thank you so much for having me.
I take care. All right,
God
see you.
Bless you.
All right,
Bye-bye.
see you. Bye-bye. You're listening to Neil Haley Show,
Bye-bye.
and we'll be back in just a moment. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Neil Haley Network's Dr. Christopher Hall Show, and I'm excited to welcome to the program Dr. Christopher Hall. Dr. Hall, how are you? And our guests the first 4 weeks have just been so inspiring, or 5 weeks. I lose track of them, but, I mean, they've just been so unbelievable stories, different backgrounds, but yet the success they've been able to bring has been unbelievable, Dr. Hall. Wouldn't you agree?
I totally agree.
So this will be our first woman guest of the Dr. Christopher Hall Show, and she is just inspiring and definitely inspiring many people. So go ahead and introduce our guest.
Well, it's my pleasure to introduce international model, an award-winning producer, and animal welfare advocate, Miss Katie Clearing. Welcome to the show, Katie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Awesome. It's great it's great to chat with you again. I've been watching your story and what you've been able to do, and it's awesome, and I could see that passion when we were talking years ago. All right, Dr. Hall, go ahead with the first question.
Yeah.
Well, Katie, tell us about your childhood. Where did you grow up?
Yeah, I grew up in Chicago, a single mom, and she raised me pretty much, I would say, by herself with a little bit of help with my grandparents, and always, big animal loving family. So it really started from when I was really young. We would rescue Oh my gosh, from, kittens, bottle feeding kittens to puppies to squirrels to, rabbits, anything, that was a need. We would rescue them, rehabilitate. Starting entertainment at a young age, I thought, well, this is another platform I can definitely use, to give them a voice. And for me, it was specifically endangered species. So I always knew that I was going to be heavily involved in that somehow. And I believe it was a calling, really, when I was a child.
It definitely sounds like a calling for you for sure in that time period. When we talk about, when you were young, did you think you were going to be involved? Did you have kind of understanding, a passion or certain things at that time period growing up?
Yeah, it was, it was about like 11 or 12, and it was really, really have to go through it and memorize everything and all the species, and whether it's, from the medium-sized cats, the servals, the ocelots to, all the way up to the Siberian tiger. I just was really obsessed with cats, and, we would also rescue cats. So I didn't have dogs growing up, just cats. So it really stemmed from the feline species, and then realizing that there was only, at that time, 5,000 tigers remaining in the wild. And it was just heartbreaking to think that we're losing these species. And this was, 25 years ago. So, now there's, we kind of maintain the species, but sadly, there's only about 2,500 left in the wild. There's more tigers remaining in captivity in Texas than there are in the whole world. And so, the heartbreaking thing is that it's, if we don't do something in the next 5 years, we might lose not only tigers, but the big five in Africa. I mean, rhinos are on the brink. We lost the last northern male right rhino, Sudan 2 years ago. So we filmed actually his gravesite, and then the last two females that are remaining in Olpejeta, Kenya, for a documentary I'm doing. And, it's a pretty urgent crisis right now. I mean, we're in the sixth mass extinction called the Holocene extinction, and it's extinction based on human impact. And so this is, having to do with our emissions, meat consumption, climate change, pollution. It's all human impact. Before it wasn't. It was just a natural process. But this is a whole different ballgame we're in right now. So the Earth can't sustain this many people and what we're doing to it. We're taking and not giving. And so I mean, it kind of stemmed from, I think I would say, a calling. It was a calling. I have very strong faith in God and Jesus, and it was calling from my faith. I always knew it was going to be about the animals. I went,
oh, wow.
Through it an unconventional way, but it was a calling.
Incredible.
Yeah, I know it's interesting, Dr. Hall, when she talks about this, is she's talking about animals. Again, what she's known for, which is now she's known for, is animals, but at that beginning point. And that's a theme that we've had on the Dr. Christopher Hall show, is even whatever their career, where they're most known for at first, which we talked about. We had professional athletes on, Olympians on, Katie, and so the basically what we learned from all of them is that they use that platform to go to their passion later on. And Dr. Hall, you see that as well as an emergency room doc, how you are looking towards young people as your big platform, Dr. Hall, right?
You're certainly right, and and Katie's certainly a trailblazer, certainly in modeling, and also with the animal rights, and certainly in the emergency room. You have to have the same drive, and she is certainly showing young women out here how important it is to have confidence and be yourself. So that's great.
Thank you so much. Thanks. I mean, I think, a lot of people do have a platform, whether it's small, whether it's big, whether it's, whatever it is, they should use it, for something that I believe that will outlive them, that will be around for much longer than they will be. And we live such short, life is precious and it's very short. And so I think that, we have to, use this short time to raise awareness for something greater than ourselves. And I think if everyone picked that one thing, that mission, I think this world would be a different place. And, so that's kind of what I'm trying to do. I just turned 38 last week, and still involved in entertainment, but I really feel like now is kind of the next chapter in my life to really take this to the next level and, start working on more legislation, working on the second documentary right now. Hopefully we'll get that on Netflix and, get that all finished. And, there's just, there's a lot to do, and there's just such a short period of time to do it. So, we're just trying to figure out how do we maximize our impact, with the little time we have here,
All right, we're going to take you back a little bit more to that in a second. Go ahead, Dr. Hall, with your next question.
Well, Katie, did you always want to be a model?
Oh, I just lost you.
No, did she say? Did she
Can
say?
you hear me?
No, we heard it, and she must have heard it. I heard a door or something. Did you always want to be a model, Katie? That's what he was asking.
Oh, did I always want to be a model? You know what? It was interesting. It was always about the animals. Really, first it was like veterinary zoology, working with endangered species. That was kind of the first thing. And then I got discovered downtown Chicago. It was with my mom, and it was it was just a scouting agent came up to me from, I think it was Elite's Kid Division, Stuart Talent at that time, and they said, are you interested in modeling? And I said yes. My mom wasn't really crazy about it. She didn't really like the industry, and it's a tough industry. You need very thick skin, and she really wanted me to continue my schooling and get a degree, and then go on to do other bigger things. She didn't believe entertainment was the way to go, and so I kind of pushed the issue a little bit, and then and then when I got involved in it, it was like 5 years down the road, I just thought, well, it's a platform and it's growing, and then a lot of people listen to the Cindy Crawfords of the world. At the time it was Naomi Campbell, it was Tyra Banks, and they listened to them, and I thought maybe they would listen to me if I had something to say about animal welfare. So yeah. And it worked. 20-something years later.
Well, as I said before, I look at even my platform back in the day that got me back in entertainment and teaching and all that. I utilize a lot of things from my days as a professional wrestler, what I do today, from communicating with people in business to communicating people on the radio to being an entertainer in general. If I wouldn't have had that experience, but would I want to go back into the squared circle at 46, even though guys are wrestling in their 60s? I don't miss that part of it. At times I do, Dr. Hall, but it's interesting to talk about. Katie sees absolutely that her platform, Dr. Hall, is animal rights, and it's such world animal rights, and she saw it from the beginning, yet her kind of goal, Dr. Hall, got sidetracked with modeling, but she saw how important that opportunity that was presented to her, Dr. Hall, and she went for it, so that now people will hear her out more than just if she was an everyday person being an advocate. So she takes that entertainment area to do her passion. So I really think that's amazing, Dr. Hall. So don't you agree?
Very much so. And again, her story is very, very inspiring. Particularly when you think about all of the young ladies there in Chicago, and a little bit about that. I went to school there at Northwestern, that have seen her rise and what she's done. So yeah, it's great.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks. I love Chicago. Chicago was amazing. Northwestern's such a great school, and I do miss Chicago. I miss Chicago. It's just I miss the people, and everyone's so down to earth, and but it's freezing, the weather. I can't do the weather, so I stay where it's warm.
All right, shout out to
tell
one.
Us about,
yeah, go ahead, Dr. Hall. I was going to say shout out to our Chicago affiliate. All right, go ahead, Dr. Hall. The next question.
Oh yeah, I wanted to ask Katie if she could tell us about how she got on America's Top Model.
Yeah,
I think she kind of summarized it, but.
Yeah, it was kind of a funny story. It was I was in college, and I got this random email, saying this is something that you maybe should try out for, and I didn't, they didn't send me a link or anything. This is like, way back in the day where it was, the internet wasn't what it is now, and social media wasn't the same. So it was, very like the AOL days, And so I don't know who this email came from. It was just so random, and I just started searching, what is this contest, that I should try out for, apparently. And so I finally found it and sent in the video. They lost the first video, so I had to send in another one. and I did it myself, just sitting on my bed studying in college, and it was just took a chance. And then Tyra Banks called me, and she said, first she's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry you didn't make it," and I'm like, "Oh, that's okay, no worries." I said, "If you don't mind me asking, like, what was it?" And she said, "Girl," she's like, "I'm just messing with you." She said, "Pack your bags, you're going to LA." And I'm like, "What?" And so before that, they had me rent a video recorder actually from college, and I set it up by the phone because they wanted to catch my reaction, and then send in the tape, for the actual show, the first season. So yeah, so that's how it all started. And then coming to LA, I'm like, wow, this is a great town. I like this town, and maybe eventually I'll move here. So
Interesting. And
that was a while ago.
So it has been a while ago, but I think that you've learned so much from that experience. What'd you learn from Tyra from that experience? The kind of where you are, yeah. Mm-hmm.
I would say having thick skin. I mean, they weren't very easy on me. They were really tough on me because I was pretty confident back then because I knew who I was, I knew what I wanted. I even spoke about the animals and animal welfare back then, and they really liked that. I think Janice Dickinson had said something about that, but they were really hard on me, and so it was. I knew it was all for TV. I knew it was all for show, and I thought, God, this is just a stepping stone, And when I was eliminated second, I thought, okay, well, I can now go back and finish college, and then move out to LA sooner. And that's exactly what I did. And then, I would just say that they, taught me to have thicker skin and be confident, stand up for yourself, and don't let anyone give you shit. And stand your ground. And that's what they taught me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a great thing, and see, that's where I think that I look at my experience in entertainment and how I learned the cutthroat world, and then going into business and now things, and even dealing with entertainment today, that you just basically have to just deal with it. Some people are not going to like you, and I wish I had the advice from the beginning, Katie, when I was in pro wrestling, that it's a business, and whatever they're saying, it's because they're either jealous of you or they're really just trying to help you, but this is how they do it. And I think we as entertainers have to understand that and not want to be constantly told we're great, because when that happens, they're just blowing up our butts. And we have to understand that, because really, truly, if they're being a true person, they're going to tell you the truth. And Dr. Hall, that's the entertainment business in general, that you basically have to have that thick skin and understand that you're going to get tons of no's. You're going to hear a lot of bad things, but every day you just got to keep striving for the very best.
Yeah, and I apply that in, animal welfare, with what we're doing with legislation. We were doing an anti-deforestation bill, and it was headed to, I think, the House floor vote. The Senate floor vote in California. And it didn't pass. And it was right when the fires hit in the Amazon. And I'm thinking to myself, are you kidding me right now? This is an anti-deforestation bill to protect our rainforests and also, protect California from purchasing anything from deforested land. So we wouldn't do business with companies that have completely decimated the rainforest. At the simultaneously, when the Amazon's on fire, and they wouldn't pass it. And
Yes.
I'm thinking, my God, we're, everything's so backward. Why is this? We thought for sure that it was a go. We would be able to not only save the rainforest, but save the species, the millions of species that live there, that are going extinct as a result of our greed. The fact that the Brazilian president
Yes.
opened up the rainforest, Amazon, to logging and the paper and pulp industry and the palm oil industry, which is destroying everything. So just like that, I mean, that was a big piece of legislation that we now have to fight this next year for. We're gonna reintroduce it, hopefully, and I'm just just applying all those things I learned 20-something years ago, just being in entertainment and learning. You have to keep fighting. You have to keep fighting for what you want.
Exactly.
And of course, this is such a greater issue. I mean, I'm not fighting for myself. This time I'm fighting for the animals. I'm fighting for our world, our environment, our rainforest. And so this is a much bigger fight this time,
Yes.
and for the future of what I'm going to be doing. So, yeah.
It's definitely
so
it's
things
huge.
like that.
Yeah, that's definitely, and it's a huge fight in so many ways. And as I'll go put my education hat on right now, and as I'm going to pass it back to Dr. Hall after that, and say ultimately what's really sad is based on specific people's opinions or what they think is right. other people's voice does not count. This based on specific beliefs instead of working together to run the United States or the world in a way that's going to be best for everyone, not just a collective few. And I think that's where Katie has so much of her passion, Dr. Hall.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I see some very important points that have been made to the young people out here and young women in general. Because Katie talks about basically, the influence her mom had on her, okay? And then she talks about having confidence. And so, yeah, I mean, she's a very inspiring figure.
Oh, thank you. You're so sweet. And both, both of you are as well. I mean, I think it's just us coming together. I mean, we don't all have to have the same passion because then this world would be boring, right?
No, right.
So we're all individually, unique, and we all have our own mission on this earth for this short period of time we're here. And so if we can just raise enough awareness and inspire more people to use their voice to speak on behalf of maybe those that don't have one, or, it could be any issue. It could be, cancer, AIDS. It could be, building wells in Africa, endangered species, of course, the environment. I mean, there's a million issues, and this earth needs help right now, and people need help, and animals need help. And so we're kind of at a crossroads, I would say. It's going to go one of two directions in the future. It's going to continue to go downhill, or we can turn this around rather quickly if we all get on board. And I see a change. I do see a change, but we have to fight harder. It's not going to just change on its own. We're the cause of it.
Right. It's all about education. And a show like this, especially what Dr. Hall bringing his educational point of view and myself bringing my educational point of view, not always I get these opportunities with celebrities to talk this deeply about something they're passionate about that is not relating to entertainment in certain ways. But again, we're going to find out soon in this story how you're using your expertise in entertainment and modeling to help really bring awareness. So Dr. Hall with the next question.
Katie, tell us about any one of your latest projects.
Yeah, so I just got back from Zimbabwe about 2 weeks ago, and we were actually doing some filming for my news network, World Animal News, down there. So we went on the Cecil Lion Safari, and it was I'm sure you guys remember what happened with Cecil, the lion that was being tracked by Oxford years ago, and he was shot with a bow and arrow and then hunted and lured out of the park in Hoang National Park and then killed by a trophy hunter. And so they're now trying to turn the story around and raise awareness for canned lion hunting and trophy hunting and to try to end it because it's sadly legal and many African countries as well as the United States. It's legal in Texas and other places like Ohio. So people just don't know it's really happening, and when you let them know it's happening, they're shocked. So, so we were out there raising awareness for that, as well as our anti-poaching team that we've supported pretty much from the beginning. It's called International Anti-Poaching. It's all-female anti-poaching team in Zimbabwe, and led by Damien Meander. He's the head of the organization, and his idea was to take these women from underprivileged communities. These women are orphans. A lot of them have children. Their husbands have left. They don't have any money, no running water, no electric. Sometimes they don't even have a roof over their heads. So we went there for the recruitment day, and talk about just life-changing. I mean, they came in, their heads were down, they weren't even looking anyone in the eye, and it was all the recruits that had been recruited from 2 years ago, the first recruits who then interviewed them to become the new round of recruits. And these women, it was just so powerful, and it was so moving, and they were telling their stories, and some of them couldn't speak English, so they were it was being translated, and it really touched my heart. And I said, wow, this is the reason why we came on board, to help them, using these women from disadvantaged communities, changing their life around, changing their communities, giving them a purpose. And now they're able to buy their own houses. They're able to support their families, their children. And not only that, using that model to protect endangered species and to bring old hunting grounds back to life. So that is what Akashinga is. It means the brave ones. And that is the name of the all-female anti-poaching team. And the reason why they use females is because they're less corrupt and they're the eyes and the ears of the community. So they don't take bribes sadly like men. In this part of Zimbabwe, they've tested it, and these women are very loyal, and they stay true to what they believe, and they're true warriors. So they were in National Geographic. So that was, for Peace for Animals, my foundation, just to be involved with this amazing women, this amazing group of women. So it was amazing just to be out there. So we were kind of we went on two little trips in Zimbabwe, or two big trips. So yeah, so that was a big thing. And then filming the second documentary. So it's a follow-up to Give Me Shelter that was on Netflix that I produced, and this is called We Are One. So it's going to highlight all the issues that we touched on in the first one, and then we're going to add some factory farming, what's happening with the meat and dairy industry, undercover investigations, exposing all of the truths to what's happening with animals in our environment around the world.
It's amazing to hear what you've done. And a question I ask is, I guess you really, to be able to do these documentaries and film them, if it wasn't for experiences like America's Top Model and being an international model, you wouldn't have been able to do this, right? So, talked about this is your passion. You've always thought about it, but you didn't think this road would lead to where it's led, right? If you didn't have those things, just like you talk about how many of those models are advocates for other things and have used their platforms to do it. Thinking about Cindy Crawford or a bunch of different ones that are doing it.
Yeah. I mean, I wish there was more. I don't feel like there's enough. I mean, a lot of, they do things to raise their own profile, or, and that's the sad thing about, you see people on social media, and it's like, how many selfies can you post, and how much can you talk about, where you're going, where you're traveling, or what you're, it's like, it's too much. It's too self-indulging. And I feel like if somebody just used half of the time that they post selfies to post something about what they're, something greater than themselves, a passion, or a purpose, to help, I think this world would be a different place. And I just encourage more actresses, models, actors, and entertainment people, athletes, you name it, just to use their platform. God gave it to them for a reason, not for selfish reasons. There's a much bigger purpose here that people are missing.
Wow.
That's a little words of advice, I guess.
You need to be going out there, Katie, and say, guess what? To all these celebrities out there, you have such a great platform. If you're a social media influencer or a top model or wherever where people are watching, you can really make a difference. And I'm hoping my show and Dr. Christopher Hall's show, my network and Dr. Christopher Hall's show, can bring other types of celebrities like yourself on the program to talk about what they really are passionate about. It's very interesting when you get a 6-minute soundbite interview, which I've had with celebrities, and they never get to talk about their passion. They're talking about something, and then they have 1 minute to talk about it. So this is what I think, Katie, makes you excited, is when you get to really be on the radio for a longer period of time to talk about your passion, to tell people about it. That's got to make you feel really good.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's because you're, that you're making an impact, or you hope you're making an impact, and I, hope to do much more in the future. Like what Jane Goodall's doing. I mean, she's in her 80s and she travels like 300 days out of the year.
Wow.
And, she started as a child, being the first researcher for chimpanzees and living with chimpanzees in the wild, and then look what she became, she was ridiculed, when she was a child because, or, not a child, but a teenager, because they said, well, she's not a doctor. She's not a scientist. And then she became a doctor because they were, giving her so much crap, and she made on the cover of National Geographic several times. And she really changed the game, I would say for young women, and she gave them hope. But now we need a new person to look up to, or for the next generation. And I believe this person needs to be stronger. They need to be tough. They need, not that Jane wasn't tough and strong. She is, in a different way. She's very soft-spoken. She's, she's British. She's very, I'm the complete opposite of that. I'm very, I can be in your face, and, and it's not in a computational way, unless there's a poacher or a trophy hunter. But no, I mean, it's, there's a certain, this is a new era. This is a new,
Yes.
A new beginning, I guess, where we need women to really take the lead and speak up and be a voice for this earth and this planet and each other. So I think, hopefully I'll take the lead after Jane.
You're going to do it. You have that goal in mind. That's for sure. Dr. Hall, any summaries from from what Katie just talked about?
Well, the first thing is I'm hoping that we can get her back on the show in the future. Very, very inspiring a message. And I'm just happy that she came today. So thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. God bless you guys and all of your amazing work as well. And
let me say this, one last thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Certainly as a doctor, I've examined over 19 years, many of hearts, and I would say certainly Katie has a heart of gold.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
Wow. He's intelligent and charming, Katie. Best place we can find information on you. And where can we find information on you? Best place we can connect. What for your fans and stuff?
Yeah, I would say, on social media, you can follow me on Instagram, Katie Cleary 11, and then of course World Animal News is my news network. We do breaking news every single day around the world: India, Asia, Japan, Africa, United States. We have a small team of women that are working on that as we speak. And then Peace for Animals, if you would like to make a donation, it's at Peace, PEAC, 4 animals.net. And then please look out for my second documentary, We Are One. So I hope, it'll be coming out next year. We're just, we're working hard. There's a lot of footage we're getting through, and, hopefully we'll be able to finish it next year. So, yeah.
All right. And
exciting.
And by the way, Katie, you can pick up Dr. Christopher Hall's book on Amazon, right? Dr. Hall, what's the book for Katie so that she can learn more about you?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Right, that's correct. And so the name of the book is called Ward of the Court, and it just details my life as a child into Ward of the Court, through the foster care system, and on to now I'm a doctor in the ER. So
that's amazing. Oh my gosh! See, using that experience to save lives, and I think that. You can't be a victim of your circumstances. And I think that's another thing that we can, maybe close with, is that a lot of people have gone through a lot in life. A lot of what we may not even know, half the people that we talk to every day, what they're going through in their life, what they've gone through. But if you can use that and help to inspire others, like you've done, being a doctor, and like you've done being a professional wrestler, I mean, it's inspiring. So I think that, you can't be a victim of your circumstances. You got to rise above.
Exactly. Well, thanks for calling and best of luck. And yes, you're invited anytime to come back on. Good talking to you. And thanks again, Dr. Chris, for Dr. Hall, for great commentary. Sure. Okay. That was the Dr. Christopher Hall's show, guys, and take care.